Say again now. What? Because of Netflix or something, or because of the shows?
Yeah, because of different shows or whatnot that they saw during COVID. That sometimes some of these shows inspired them to take up.
Right. How Stranger Things blew up the D&D craze. There's a Stranger Things edition box set for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, which I laugh about because in the first one they barely even played D&D.
But the fact that he did it now, it's all like, oh my god, let's play D&D like pencil and paper. We don't need our phones.
I watched the first one.
First season?
The first season.
Okay.
I wasn't all that. I just wasn't all that impressed enough to want to watch season 2. If anything, I kept thinking after a while, I'm like, can we get to it already? It's taking forever for them to all get together and do the Scooby Gang thing.
And now let's see how far jump they're gonna for the next season of Stranger Things, because all the kids are getting older and their bodies are changing. So, I don't know if it's going to be set in the early '90s or what. Yeah.
Leon's getting larger.
Yes, Leon's getting larger.
Like I said, I haven't watched past season 1 of Stranger Things.
I never watched it. I heard people like, "Oh yeah, it's so cool. There's '80s references, Mike." And I was like, just because there's '80s references doesn't mean I'm gonna like it.
That's another one of those shows when Netflix was in that mode of kind of like that, hey, we're giving you 13 episodes, and really, reality, you could have done this in 10.
Yeah, their fillers, yeah.
Maybe even 8. And people are like, oh no, it's good to have all that extra exposition, and I'm just like, I don't even know why this needed to be here. It's like, well, they're probably setting up for future seasons. Great. I'm bored as fuck. Can we get on with it by now already?
Well, it's world building, it's character building, it's but not every episode has to advance the narrative.
Well, okay, so this is the thing I laugh about. We went through a period of time where it was like, okay, you've got these shows where it's like, okay, we're going to do this world building. And they would all write where it was like their entire episodes of filler. Okay? And people were like, well, that's how you do world building. That's how it's done. You need the filler to create world building. And then along came The Boys and The Mandalorian. And they world built. And they didn't need a lot of filler.
And they did it in a good way.
And they didn't need filler at all. And now I kind of look at some of these shows where it's like all the Netflix Marvel stuff. God.
Those were days, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I at the time I was like, God, so much filler. And it's like, now it's even worse. Now I laugh even harder because it's like, especially with the new Marvel stuff where you're like, okay, there's still some filler episodes, but
yeah. Did you feel like there was a filler episode in Falcon Winter Soldier?
I think there were.
I think they could have cut one episode out.
Yeah, I think there was one, and I do feel like episode 1, after the first episode, after the big scene at the beginning with him and the helicopter and all that stuff, I do feel like there was a lot of that episode where it was like, this feels like it's just kind of here and it's not going anywhere. And then after, it was funny because obviously they brought it back later. But it's like, I did feel like it was kind of like, okay, I do feel like we've just had a whole bunch of filler here that I don't know that we needed. But okay.
Yeah, some people would say there was a filler episode of The Mandalorian. I think the Prison Break one with, what's his name? The comedian guy. Yeah, the jailbreak. That one was unnecessary.
Maybe, but you know what? I still didn't. Okay, if that's filler, I'm okay with that kind of filler.
Yeah.
You know, I just. I mean, in comparison to some of the stuff, okay, so I guess we'll go right to it since Ivan's not here yet, which is so. Look, so Jupiter's Legacy apparently is not going to get renewed at Netflix. and that's pretty much a done deal. And I laugh because it's like, I found it more interesting in having less filler than something like, and I'm going there, which is the Umbrella Academy. Now, I didn't watch season 2. I only watched season 1, but there was a ton of filler in season 1. And I watched the opener for season 2, and I was just like, I can't do it. They're going to do the same fucking thing again. It's the exact same thing, except a little bit different with some other takes. And it's like, okay, so that really in reality, by the end of season 2 happens, we're going to do the same shit over again. And then we're going to have a season 3. And I'm just kind of like, no, I'm not doing this again. And because there was too many fillers in the first season. And now we're going to have a whole bunch of filler to get through the second season? No way. Forget it. And so to me, I kind of laughed that that's getting a season 3. But you're not going to give Jupiter's Legacy a season 2. You're not even going to give it an opportunity to try.
Yeah, Netflix has a bit of gambling money. Let it grow.
Yeah.
Let it get some legs. Maybe get some online interest.
Well, and that's the part that's interesting is, so there's two things to it, which is one, so Mark Miller has made a comment, I guess they're already working on some other project, and he's talked about another project where he thinks he might be able to bring the Jupiter's Legacy back through as a different, and through a different project possibly, and that universe through a project. The other thing that's interesting is, so after they announced they're getting rid of Jupiter's Legacy, the #1 show track last week.
You never guess what it is.
Take a wild guess. Jupiter's Legacy.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The only thing I can say is I wonder if the timing was bad. And when I say the timing is bad, is so now Jupiter's Legacy comes out after. Jupiter's Legacy comes out after the 2 Marvel shows, and because there were some things that were more of an R-rated nature, for some strange reason, people kept on wanting to compare it to The Boys. And it's not The Boys. It's a very different type of show, and it's a very different type of feel and look and direction and different type of layering. But I kept hearing people be like, this show is too cerebral. It doesn't move fast enough. It's not, and I just feel like people wanted it to be The Boys, and it's not The Boys. Or the answer to this was supposed to be Netflix answers to The Boys. And it's like, was that really what was going on? Because I guess maybe that was just a Hollywood expectation. I have no idea. All I know is I'm just like, I feel bad because I think it was good enough to deserve another shot.
Well, who knows? Maybe in a few months they might get enough traction to say, okay, we've changed our minds. You've thrown enough money at us. You're streaming the show like crazy, and maybe you'll get a second season. Maybe.
I don't think they will, because they supposedly released already actors for about whether or not about a possible season 2. So we'll see. I just think it's interesting because, again, Netflix signed a pretty lucrative deal with Mark Miller to create.
He's on to other things, maybe.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. He's on other things for Netflix already, but it is interesting because it's like, okay, this is the first project from Miller to go to air to Netflix, and it's already done, and we're kicking it out the door. And I don't know. I just think it's interesting because you signed a big content deal with this person, and you're already really ready to axe.
We've already dumped his first project.
You already dumped his first project without giving him an option for a season 2 to see if he could at least at that point correct some of the problems that people may have had with it to increase ratings. So either that or the project was expensive enough that their thought process was, yeah, no thanks. Move on to another project. Let's see if the other one hits. I don't know. I just find it interesting, especially because I look at something like Umbrella Academy and I'm like, I don't know. Like I said, I will admit, I'm basing a lot of my feeling on Umbrella Academy from watching season 1. And if I'm comparing and contrasting the two shows, I'm like, if you sat there and said which show deserves another shot, I don't think it'd be an Umbrella Academy, but that's me. So,
well, we'll see. Maybe down the line, and meanwhile, then fine, let it rest. Maybe it might get traction. It might get traction another day, or who knows? Maybe in a year or two we'll get a movie or something instead of another season.
Yeah, like I said, I saw some
possible.
comments. I saw some comments from Miller about maybe finding other ways to bring it back and revisit it down the road.
Right, like I said, a movie or something. Not didn't have to be like a season.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Although, Josh Duhamel looking like some sort of hot, sexy Santa Claus.
Yeah, he posted sexy Santa one year. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. That costume is such where it's like it does kind of look like every girl Santa has fantasy. So there you go. I'm trying to. So yeah, that's. I don't know. To me, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, Christmas does not. I don't have any kind of fetish at Christmas. Like sexy elf costumes or anything like that for like chicks. Don't do that for me.
I don't know.
No, not for me. Christmas does not at all say like, "Hey, babe." No, I don't. Because I'm a kid. I'm a big kid. So let's see what else. What other news? Yeah, lots of news this week.
Yeah, kind of all kinds. It depends. What do we talk about? Real news? Or we talk about wacky news since we don't do news of the squared anymore.
Well, yes. Rest in peace, news of the squared. You posted one a few days ago with a set photo of Zachary Levi in the new Shazam costume. And that looks better. I mean, it doesn't look puffy like the first one. Just kind of like, it looked like it's so padded. Like the first costume. I'm not complaining, but I mean, I like the first Shazam movie. But this costume is definitely an improvement.
I was entertained by the first Shazam movie.
Yeah, I took it at face value. It was fine.
It's definitely more towards kids. I'm curious how that plays out where I think The Rock is involved in this movie. I'm not positive on it.
Or if it ties into the Black Adam.
Right, I could be wrong. Maybe they're doing Mr. Mind. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Which, although and in fairness, they did set up more towards Mr. Mind, but, I thought maybe there might be The Rock in this. And again, there was all these rumors about that we might see Henry Cavill as Superman in this, but I don't think that's happening either. Mm. So, I think, I don't know. Like I said, there were some things near the back end of the movie that I was like, Like, I feel like they made the other ones parts of the Marvel family too soon. I think that's the problem I had. It's like suddenly everybody's a Marvel. I'm a Marvel. You're a Marvel. Wouldn't you like to be a Marvel too?
Yeah, all the rest, all the other orphans.
Or Shazam, I should say.
Yeah. Alex Ross still posts pictures of him as, captioning Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that's such a
Technically,
weird
they're
thing.
both, it is confusing to some people. But yeah,
it's such a weird thing. So to me, the part that's weird is I can't figure out how the life of me how the older character is the older of the two characters is now Shazam, not Captain Marvel. That's the part I can't figure.
And in the Marvel continuity, it's no longer a dude. For decades, Captain Marvel was a dude.
Well, and it was Marvel, not Marvel.
Right.
Okay, and then there was Miss Marvel, and now Miss Marvel doesn't exist. And
Miss Marvel. That's Kamala Khan.
Oh, that's right. They eventually brought that back, but
it's confusing. We need a flowchart.
It's not so much we need a flowchart. I forgot that they have now actually gave us a Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
But at one point, they basically merged the two and basically made it Carol Danvers.
Yeah.
And said there is one Captain Marvel. There's a Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel. Boom, same character. And by the way, P.S. I still have no understanding of how everything we know about Carol Danvers from the 80s that resulted in how Rogue gets her powers and eventually becomes an X-Men works at all in her current comic book storyline.
No, I don't think it does. They're just ignoring that.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know, and I don't have a good answer for it, Mike. I'm curious as to whether or not, now that they own
the X-Men,
now that they own the rights to the X-Men,
if Rogue's going to come in and see about that.
Well, and so here's the here's the interesting thought. We keep wondering how you bring the X-Men into things, and there's always been this talk about what if you could do Avengers versus X-Men as a movie. Well, what if Avengers versus X-Men was based around that whole situation where Rogue pretty much drains,
depowered her,
pretty much depowers Carol Danvers, and then eventually finds her way and becomes one of the members of Xavier's family at the School for the Gifted Mutants with the X-Men, and the Avengers go out and the Avengers find out. Now that would be an interesting way of having them go at each other's throats, and the real question is who's the real villain there. But well, that could be broached another time and place. But
maybe once the X-Men are fully integrated into the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other question. That's the other interesting question. How long do we think it's going to be until we see another X-Men movie?
There's no plans. There's no plans in this current lineup, like leading up to 2024 or whatever it is. They've mapped out their movies.
Just like there's no plans for an Avengers movie anytime soon either.
Well, I mean, without Cap or without Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and Thor's doing his thing in space and Bruce Banner's seemingly retired after, who knows, after the events of Endgame, if we're going to get another Avengers, or will there be something else if there is going to be another Avengers team up down the line. I mean, they had a big, Endgame was like, that's why we had that big final credits thing with the big six, the introducing all the heroes, and then they had the big thing for the original 6 Avengers at the end of Endgame, Gesundheit. And that sounds like it was kind of like, okay, goodbye Avengers, maybe we'll come back again. Maybe someday, but I don't think we're going to get one for a long while.
I don't know, because I think one of the problems that stymies a lot of it is, I think there was definitely a working thought process of where the Avengers at that point would be Carol Danvers, T'Challa, Doctor Strange. It sounds like you might be able to get Chris Hemsworth to come back. You probably could get Ruffalo to come back. Okay.
Or whoever's going to play She-Hulk. And of course,
maybe
Sam Wilson.
Well, okay, at the time there was no thought about Sam Wilson.
No, there wasn't, no.
But I think really they kind of looked at the idea of Black Panther, Doctor Strange,
right, and Captain
Carol
Marvel,
Danvers, and Spider-Man.
Right.
Because I think they thought that I don't remember. I think they have one more.
Of course, we had Ant-Man.
Right. Well, yeah, but again, I think that their core thought was to build around those 4 characters.
Right. Because they're the most powerful.
Right, or they're the most popular, more powerful, and hey, you know what? We're going to be able to pull off of that, and hey, this would work, and hey, for all we know, maybe they had plans that the new Avengers headquarters was going to be in Wakanda, which would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, that would have been an interesting idea.
Yeah, that'd been cool.
Is to put the new Avengers headquarters in Wakanda instead of putting it in America for once, especially because you could have built it. Oh, wow. The idea of an Avengers headquarters in Wakanda. Wow.
That'd have been pretty cool.
Wow. What would that look? Wow. Oh. Hey, by the way, did you see any of the video of this Avengers Heroes Land that's happening.
This theme park Disney, or whatever it's going on?
Yeah, within Disney?
No.
Oh, I only watched like the first 7 minutes. I'm excited. This thing looks amazing. I mean, it looks really incredible. I mean, as it is, it's like literally, it's like the upstate, it looks like the upstate New York Avengers headquarters. And there's literally a Quinjet on the top. And I'm just like, that's what I'm talking about right there.
Neat.
And then they were showing things where it's like, they'll have like a Spider-Man who's like flying or is like there. And he won't just like be shaking hands. Like literally they have it where like he can like bound from one building to the next, which is kind of amazing.
Isn't that one of those robot stunt doubles we talked about like last year or 2 years ago?
I don't know. I think they're talking about a real stunt double for that.
Oh, it's a real stunt guy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I guess they have like a real way to do that. And then they had, the one I got a chance to see was some sort of interactive game where you go in and you help Spider-Man stop some bots that he created on accident that decided to go too far. But there are some other things that happen there, and like I said, I only got a chance to look the first 7 minutes, but it was intriguing enough for me to go, okay, maybe I need to like find my way to like California or when they build the one in Florida, because this looks interesting.
Marvel Land?
Yeah, so to speak.
So yeah, they did tease it, but it's launched, and this might be a good way to get feet in the theme parks now that we're over the whole virus thing.
Right. Well, and that's the reason, by the way, I think at some point we get another Avengers movie is when you literally, when you're literally building the headquarters of the Avengers in your theme park. I don't think that that's a long-term investment. That's not, okay, we're going to take this down sometime later and then rebuild it. That's not how that works. Like, oh, okay, now we're more involved in Xavier's mansion. No, that's a add-on to whatever they do. You get the idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
what other news did we have? We caught a glimpse of Ruffalo on the set of She-Hulk. So he's, like I said, it was
Thor looking jacked from the end of filming.
They finished filming Love and Thunder.
Looking absolutely jacked.
Yeah,
so no more.
He's like totally skipped leg day.
Yeah. Guess no more fat Thor. So.
Nope, no more. Nope. He's on the straight and narrow. He's righted the wrong. He's felt some sense of redemption, I think.
That's too bad. I think it would have been interesting to start with him as Fat Thor and then go from there. But that's me. I think that would have been interesting, and I think it'd been fun. Especially because I think, Natalie Portman could have fun with it, like, kind of let yourself go. Yeah! Whoops. Oh, wow.
Or she could see, well, I saw the pictures of or might have heard or something. Who knows? We don't know. For all we know, he was stuck in that new Asgard village, just kind of languishing, drinking beer and eating all day. So.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Michael Keaton's Batman costume was teased.
Yep.
In the Flash with Ezra Miller. This is cool. This is what they should have done, like 20 years ago. Although, it's only been, it's been 32 years since the 89 Michael Keaton Batman. And we thought, oh yeah, we'll get he'll do all of them. And he's like, nope. He was done after the second one. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool to see Keaton, of course, back as Batman.
Yeah.
He's Batman.
I'll be curious with the way that they're talking about this being open to multiverses. I am curious as to whether or not we'll see any of the CW characters.
Well, they teased that. I mean, when we got that Crisis on Infinite Earth, and we got, oh my God, we got Robert Wool, and we got Burt Ward, and they were there for.
Well, we had Ezra Miller.
Yeah, and they were there for 5 seconds, and like.
Right, we did get it. We did get Ezra Miller running into Grant Gustafson. So maybe we see. I mean, maybe we see the reverse. I don't know. I mean, I understand that Grant Gustafson is not a movie star. I'm still not convinced you couldn't have done the movie with him, and made millions and billions. I mean, the guy personifies looking like the Flash. Just like I know they're in the process of working on the Supergirl movie, and they're not picking Melissa Benoist, and it's like that woman pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, she does a great job as Supergirl.
Right, and it's like, but it's like, oh, you know, it's like they feel like they need to either cast somebody new or go away from the TV show, and it's like, why? Why wouldn't you? Especially like with Supergirl, where the show's ending. Why would you go away from? Why wouldn't you consider going? Hey, let's bring her in.
We've been
from
tilting
there
our
to there.
heads and scratching our heads for what Marvel or I mean what DC's doing for years.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, and that's not that far away from Marvel either. You know?
Well, Marvel's had some things forced upon them. Like, first of all, they can't afford to keep Robert Downey Jr. and the death of Chadwick Boseman was.
Chadwick Boseman, yes,
major bummer.
No, Major Bummer's a DC character.
Major bummer. It's Major Bummer.
Actually, yeah. So Major Bummer was a character that's the obscure character from, God, is it the 90s? Or the early 2000s?
I thought you were joking. This is real.
Oh, no, Major Bummer. That's a phenomenal book. It's really funny.
Yeah, it's a DC, yeah.
Oh, no.
From the late 90s.
I gotta tell you, that is
Licensed to nil.
It is absolutely fabulous. I have, you know what? I still have it. You know what? It's collected as a trade, and you can get it as a trade. It is absolutely hilarious. It is one of it's in that period of the 90s, DC found a way to do comedy in some of its books, including the Justice League. The Justice League was what was known as a bwaha book, which it was more of a funny book than it was a superhero book. I mean, it was superheroes, but it was funny. I mean, it was like bust a gut funny, like don't drink anything funny; it'll get all over your damn copy. You better buy a second one. It was that funny. And
after issue 15, sales were bad, and there was just no way to keep the book going. So the series was canceled after 15 issues.
Right. I can't remember the name of who the guy is who does it, but he is like a
John
well-known...
Arcudi?
Yeah.
Arcudi?
That guy's a well-known... I can't remember if it's artist or writer.
He was a writer, and the artist was Doug Menck.
Right, and Doug Menck has gone on to do Batman. Doug's gone on to do Batman and a lot of other really, really great artwork projects for DC and the comic book world for quite some time since that period of time. But the art's fun. The book is fun. Let me give you perspective. And I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything when I do this. So, I believe I want to make sure I get it right. I can't remember which way it is. So, I think his name is Lou Martin, and he's a kid, and he gets this package, and it turns him into like this like uber superhero, and there are these other heroes, and he's supposed to lead them, but he's this like total slacker guy who's like in his 20s, just like, I don't want to lead these people, I just want to play video games and stuff. Well, it turns out this is some aliens project, final thesis project from outer space, and they're stuck on the planet. So in the meantime, while this is going on, and this was their thesis project, was to create a superhero team and to watch it and to turn that in as their thesis. Well, because they didn't understand how names worked in on Earth, they were supposed to give it to this guy named Martin Lewis, who's this exemplary human being who is gets cats out of trees, creates foundations, all this kind of stuff. The guy who would be like the uber leader kind of guy. They accidentally, instead of sending it to Martin Lewis, they sent it to Lou Martin because they saw the comma and they thought, oh, that's what they have to send it to.
Okay.
So their entire project has been ruined because they sent it to the wrong guy. Just like one of the parts of the project is somehow the cat gets into it, and it's a giant. The cat, when it gets to a certain point, grows and it gets gigantic, and it's really funny. Yeah, it's a funny book. And
it's only 15 issues, so it's a short read.
Right, like I said, it's worthwhile. But yeah, DC did that book. There was another book that they did that doesn't get talked about. That was more of a soap opera-y book, but it was kind of on the funny side, called Young Heroes in Love. That was the other problem. Major Bummer came out at the same time as Young Heroes in Love. And I think that the two books canceled each other out because they were both really unique, different books than what was the usual norm. And I think between those two books and the Justice League book, DC was trying to go into the comic, into the more,
and maybe trying to capitalize on the humor factor that Deadpool
was. On the humor factor. And I think the problem is, so it's funny, Young Heroes in Love had far more of a soap opera feel to it. Way more of a soap opera feel to it. And it was on purpose. Like, they literally, were the whole shipping thing where, they didn't have, the names like people make up now, where it was if they had the two people and they make up a name out of that, that would have worked with, I think Young Heroes in Love was ahead of its time. I think Young Heroes in Love, if they brought that book back now, I think it would be interesting to see what would happen if they brought that book now. But that book's been dead for a long time, too. But yeah, they had this period where they were trying to do more humor books, between those books that I'm mentioning and Justice League International, and then those guys, Kevin McGuire was doing a book called The Heckler that didn't last very long, but it was quite funny. And then, that was the period of time where DC was doing a lot of Ambush Bug books. A lot of Ambush Bug books, because Ambush Bug was popular because he was funny. Because he wasn't really a hero, but he wasn't really a villain. That's also around the time that we saw a lot of Lobo books, too. So
I'm sure there's some good Lobo stories. Because I borrowed a copy of American Alien to a friend of mine, and the last chapter in that book is his first encounter with Lobo. And I was like, I was thinking about, his appearance, and we had in Krypton, and I was like, there'd have been and of course in Justice League, he's been in that.
So the irony is, Lobo's first appearance is in Justice League International, the Bwaha book, and he was supposed to be kind of a throwaway character. It was there, kind of making fun of Wolverine and Punisher. If you took one of Wolverine and Punisher and you put them together, voila, here's Lobo. Okay? And it was supposed to be kind of a throwaway, character within the Justice League International book when they're out in space. Okay? And there was enough interest.
He rides a space motorcycle. He calls himself the main man.
Right. So they did a good enough job that there was enough interest, and the irony is when they did the DC versus Marvel books, where they had I don't know if you're aware, they did a DC versus Marvel books in the 2000s. No, was it the 2000s? No, it had to be the mid 90s. Yeah, that's what it was, the mid 90s. They did those books, and they actually did it on a fan vote. One of the fan votes was Lobo versus Wolverine. And obviously, you can take a wild guess who won that one. But it's pretty much a bar fight between Wolverine and Lobo.
That'd have been cool.
It was interesting because, even to this day, there were certain fan fights that we got to pick from. There were other fights that happened we didn't get to pick anything at all. But the fan fights that I can remember off the top of my head, you might be able to Google it. I know there was Superman versus Hulk, and as usual, everybody was complaining because Superman shouldn't beat the Hulk, blah, 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 but that's what happened. I know there was Batman versus Captain America, and it pretty much was a draw, which was not cool. I think the answer is nobody really wanted to have that discussion. And then Storm versus Wonder Woman, and the interesting part about Storm versus Wonder Woman is that in the book, it happens right after Thor is battling Shazam. And so Shazam is using the lightning bolts to take out Thor. And Thor decides, lightning. So he throws Meteor at it. And somehow...
the hammer?
Throws the hammer.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is it knocks out the lightning bolt, and then he becomes a kid again. But the hammer's missing. And the next scene we see is, and I can't remember where she is, but there's Wonder Woman looking at the hammer. So cool. Wonder Woman is looking at the hammer. She's like, all right, pick it up. So she picks up the hammer. So there's this shot where Wonder Woman has the hammer and now has an entirely different look because she's got the hammer. And that's what Storm
showed. She's worthy.
Apparently, yes. As a matter of fact, it says out there about worthy. So she picks it up. She's able to pick it up and she's able to use it, which is why when people talk about who is able to use the hammer, Wonder Woman has to be on the list because Wonder Woman has actually done that. And it's really, here's the part that's crazy, and this is the part we all laugh about. Is so Storm wins the fan vote. Okay? But here's the part where even fans, even the Marvel fans admit this one, which is Storm shows up, Wonder Woman now has the hammer. And Wonder Woman's like, well, I won't use the hammer to fight you. And we're all like, really? Really? Well, and the only reason we can come up with is she's got to lose the fight. And if she's got the hammer, there's just no way she loses the fight to Storm. As it is, I don't think she should lose the fight to Storm. I always thought that was bullshit, too. It's like, that's just a bunch of Marvel fans who just don't know any better. Storm versus Wonder Woman, I don't know. No way.
Of course. If she was wielding the hammer, then she would.
Well, even without the hammer. Yeah. Even without the hammer, come on now. We're talking about Wonder Woman.
You know what happens to his Amazon when it's struck by lightning? Nothing, but when she's wielding Mjolnir.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like I said, there's the reason for that. I mean, there were some interesting side fights. Like, for example, I mentioned the thing about Shazam and Thor. There's another one where Submariner is fighting Aquaman, and in the end, Aquaman wins because he dumps a whale on top of him. Mm-hmm. And Submariner is just pissed going, when I get out of here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
blah.
they teased that line. I'll never forget that one line at Endgame where they're talking about some kind of disturbance underwater, and the chick from Wakanda says something about if there's a problem in the ocean, there's pretty much nothing we can do. But yeah, that was a throwaway line in Endgame, kind of teasing maybe we'll get the Submariner, and we never did.
Well, yeah, because they didn't have the right swim yet at the time. Right. Now they do.
Yeah.
Now they do. But yeah, the point being is that they had all these different fights, and there were some fights that were fan
fights. Yeah.
Some of these were fan fights, and like I said, Superman versus Hulk, Wonder Woman versus Storm, Captain America versus Batman, which they gave us a draw, which we're all pissed off about a little bit. Lobo versus Wolverine, and then they gave us Spider-Man versus Superboy that everybody kept being confused about. And it's interesting because it's the clone Superboy, not the current Jonathan Kent or Superboy Prime.
Is this the same Superboy that's in Titans? Just the clone from Luthor's lab? Yeah.
Right. So it's funny because here's another example of where people would have voted differently if they knew anything. The Spider-Man who fought Superboy is Ben Reilly, not
Parker.
Peter Parker. It's because, it's a clone fighting a clone. But like certain people who are fans are going, wait. I voted for Spider-Man Peter Parker.
And when everyone says Spider-Man,
Yeah, I didn't vote for Ben Reilly. It's like, wait a minute. Ben Reilly versus Superboy. Now, wait a minute. No. That's
yeah, I'm going to change my answer, yeah.
I'm going to change my answer. You know, some people are like, I changed my answer. You know, so I can't remember if there was any other fan vote, but it's an interesting series of books. That's also where I don't know if you remember, they made these amalgamated universe books where they created like amalgamated characters, and they had one-off issues of certain characters. And it's funny, they did do a second run of characters because they did do another kind of crossover book, but they never run those characters again. And it's funny, it's too bad. Some of them were interesting. Like they put together Batman and Wolverine. They called it Dark Claw. And Dark Claw's villain was the Hyena, which was basically the Joker mixed with Sabretooth.
Oh.
And it was interesting. And Bruce Wayne was not Batman, so it was Bruce Wayne, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember other things that they did. I think they combined one of the younger, like the New Mutants and the Titans, and made kind of like a JLX book or something like that. There were things like the Iron Lantern, where it was like the Green Lantern and Iron Man. You get the idea.
Yeah.
They did a lot of interesting different ideas with it, where they kind of, and you could, those things are still out there to be found. But yeah, I think it's, God, how did we get here? I can't even remember how we got on this.
We're just talking, 90s DC books.
Oh, Major Bummer.
Major Bummer,
that's right.
That's how we
got there from Major Bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there was some interesting stuff back then. The 90s gets hit a lot on the fact about it was kind of the art decade and whatnot. But, after a while, after things sort of calmed down with the Image guys a little bit, it really kind of went a different direction. And there was some interesting stuff that happened in the 90s, in terms of comics. And even today, there's some certain storylines that redefine comic books. And, obviously Death of Superman being one of them. And then that set up, Emerald Twilight, that set up, Nightfall, which is where, that really kind of reset the entire Batman universe for a while as to what was considered a big event for Batman. I mean, now it's like every 6 months there's this big bat event now,
Well, Batman sells books.
Yeah, well, but I mean, literally, I don't know, I can't remember if there was really the level of the kind of Batman kind of crossover, or the kind of crossover like they did when they did Nightfall. I mean, Nightfall was really kind of on a different level of anything they had done, where it was basically the Batman-centric books. And then since then, you've had your things like No Man's Land and other stuff like that. And it's kind of changed the landscape, and it's, kind of changed a lot about Batman too in some ways. Yeah, crossovers do sell books. It's frustrating because, and the interesting part about crossovers selling books is maybe not so much the main Batman titles, but when they cross them over into the other Bat family titles, yeah, those book titles go up. Whether we like it or not, we have to admit these things, and it's unfortunate. Yeah. But I'm trying to think anything else in terms of.
They've got an actress who's going to be the voice of Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, in Spider-Verse sequel. Finally, God, I've been waiting for this Spider-Verse sequel because the first one was so good.
Yep.
What else?
And then I think there's some news. I think there's some news out there too that was out there about that. It sounds like whatever happens in this Spider-Man movie that's going to come out, there was some news from a Sony person about how this is going to help to open up and expand the Spider-Man Spider-Man Sonyverse too. So
yeah, you posted. I think you posted this to Square's page.
I did.
It has where is it? Dang it, I can't find it. Of course, all the new Captain America is a Filipino American.
Yeah, and then I guess they're killing Doctor Strange, but we'll see how long that lasts. Again, that's in the comics. Again, all this stuff, the new Filipino Captain America and killing Doctor Strange, that's all in the comics.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, Spider-Man Cinematic Universe will open up more after No Way Home. What else?
Well, that's it. That's interesting all by itself. Because to me, the question becomes how much, and it's funny, I remember reading the article and they were like, they wouldn't give away whether or not we were going to see how much it's going to cross over with MCU and how much not. And could we see MCU characters in specifically Sony's Spider-Man universe, movies?
And we thought maybe that Venom 2 might tease that to get us back into, if it's still going to be officially part of Spider-Verse or not, or at least with Tom Holland's Spider-Man or whatever, but don't seem like that might not happen.
At least not yet. No. At least not yet. Or it could tease it somewhere down the road. A part of it being the fact that obviously that movie comes out before we get the Spider-Man movie. So that's part of it. I guess we're getting Tony Stark, probably the voice of him for What If.
Indiana Jones has started filming in the UK this week.
Yeah, that too.
Filming Indy 5. Where's that Ghostbusters movie, man? Damn.
I think that's coming this summer at some point.
Hopefully, maybe by Halloween.
I think the interesting thing is on that Tony Stark thing. I do think it's interesting because I think there are a couple ways you can bring Tony Stark back into the MCU. One of them being, if you're really going to play with a multiverse, then there could be Tony Stark from somewhere else.
Well, he's not making a Dr. Dolittle sequel, so RDJ.
Right. Well, I mean, I know he's got other projects too.
Yeah. I mean, we're just kidding.
The point being is, you can go multiverse. The other thing is, in the comics, I mean, look, let's put it where it is. In the comics with Riri Williams and Ironheart, the AI for Riri Williams is Tony Stark.
Right. Yeah. I think that was going on. I think at the same time, and some of the Marvel books later after Civil War II, where Tony Stark was just an artificial intelligence.
Right.
This was a toiler. This was a toy spoiler from a Lego set. That's what was going on here. He's got looks like there's a Watcher and Valkyrie along with
right, because
Man.
that's What If.
Yeah.
It's the cartoon What If series.
Right.
But but the point being is, here's the interesting thing, which is, what if Iron Man just came back as the voice of the voice for Riri Williams?
Yeah, or just he wrote some kind of program for his daughter. As a guide for Peter Parker.
Yeah, and that's possible too. Again,
that's what we thought we might. If there's any way we're going to get Tony Stark back after he's passed on, is that he wrote this program like Jarvis for. I'm still not convinced there's the other ways to do this too, which is one. Like I said, you could have multiverse Tony, which means he could be an entirely different Tony Stark. Yeah. And
two, there's no reason that if Thanos can't come back from the past, that Tony Stark from the past can't come back either.
Right.
And suddenly magically show up. Or they end up in the past because the quantum realm, and, they've left too many options on the board that if Robert Downey Jr. wants to come back and play Iron Man, there's a million options for him to come back and play Iron Man. Even if the fact that it's RDJ is getting old and he can't do some of the stunts, there's still a million ways to bring back Iron Man.
Yeah, there's digital de-aging. There's even for just brief scenes. But would you consider RDJ's death in Endgame one of the best comic book hero deaths?
In comics or just in
general? Just movies, like comic book movie hero deaths.
Yeah, I guess. I'm trying to think.
Did that give you the feels in Endgame?
Not as much because I knew it was coming.
I didn't know Tony was going to die in Endgame.
I had a feeling.
Well, I figured it was going to be either Steve Rogers or Tony Stark.
Right, I figured one of them was going, and it became pretty clear after a while it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was going to be him. That it was going to be him versus Chris Evans. If anything, I see the funny thing is when you sit there and you say to me about most shocking, the problem is the first thought I had doesn't go. In recent memory, the first thing I go to that I would consider shocking goes to something that technically is in a comic book movie, which is I really did think for a second that Han Solo wasn't going to get killed by Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
I really thought there was a minute there where I was like, oh, well, that's an interesting... Oh! Dude!
And then the darkness came.
Yeah. That was painful. That was, I think... I cried. I'm not gonna lie, I cried.
Yeah, I did too. I did.
That's why I keep laughing. That's why I keep laughing when people sit there and say, "Oh, Force Awakens." Are you kidding me? That is the greatest love letter.
That was an emotional gut punch. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the greatest love letter to Han Solo in the history of Star Wars.
Yeah,
that really is. I mean,
well, not counting maybe some of the books. I don't know, like.
Well, I'm just let's talk more
I mean,
about
I'm not really versed in what goes on in the comics, but as far as that was it was a huge emotional moment for Force Awakens.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I mean, just that's the part where I laugh because it's like if you didn't think if you really have a problem with Force Awakens and didn't think it was great, then you cannot be a Han Solo fan. Then you're just not a Han Solo fan. Then you wanted other things other than a Han Solo.
Well, you can make the argument saying, I'm a Han Solo fan because I want him to live, and they killed him in Force Awakens. But doing so, they cheated that whole... everyone wanted... There's this thing there, the fans said, I wanted a moment where Leia, Han, and Luke were together again, and we never got that. Sadly, because, now, Carrie Fisher's passed on. And Luke is, one with the Force, and Han's dead. So.
Yeah, well, and that's a choice that they made.
Yeah,
it was funny. We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about the fact that J.J. Abrams is on the record now of saying that it wasn't planned out well enough, and it wasn't planned out in a way that it should have been planned out. Although it's interesting that he can sit there and say that out loud now that he's got a nice exclusive deal with Warner Brothers. But it begs the question. It's like, okay, if you realize that, why can't you get it right with Star Trek? And P.S. Hope you get it right with DC because you're kind of going to be involved in the creation of that universe. It seems. That's the other thing that's interesting. And so who, especially now with the big changeover over there, okay, where it's going to be Warner Brothers and Discovery. Okay, there's going to be a big shakeup over there, so things could change with what's going to happen with some of their plans for the DC stuff. And, to me, J.J. Abrams is a possibility of someone you want to keep going to, but I really kind of thought they'd leaned on James Gunn a lot more down the road for future projects. And so far, other than they did the Suicide Squad movie, and then
James Gunn got rehired because the heat died down from his tweets from 13 years ago or whatever.
Right. Well, but he got hired before he got back to Marvel, and I think that, and it's funny. I think Gunn has more movies to do under Warner Brothers DC banner. Honestly, to me, I kind of laugh. That's who I would like to see reboot the Justice League, or something like that, or projects like that. Is Gunn? I have full trust in the fact that James Gunn could create a good superhero team movie, without question after watching Guardians. So that's just me. But I'm trying to think, what else do we have this week that's...
Todd McFarlane revealed his Batman 66 figures.
Would you buy that?
Yes. All of it. I'm already mapping out where I'm going to put them.
Okay. That's kind of why I put that up there.
There's
shit.
No
way Mike has seen this. I'll put it up and see how quickly Mike's like, just take my money.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. No.
But the thing is, we're getting a Batcave and a Batmobile and who knows how many other figures. And we've had if you're counting the other Catwomen and Riddlers and all the other obscure Batman villains, we've had 32 Batman villains in the course of the 66 series. But yeah, I'm all over this, like white on rice. I mean, I have a 3 3/4, a 5 POA figure of Batman hanging on my wall right behind my monitor here. So I think the thing is that the Farland figures they're a little bit bigger than 1/12. They're 7 inches. They're not 6 inches. So you can't put them with your Marvel Legends because they're a little bit taller.
Size matters.
It does. Size matters. But yeah, so anyway, it's not like I was going to put Superman and Batman on this and Captain America on the same shelf. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to find a place to display these Batman 66 because they look awesome. I think it's one of the Batmobile, and yeah, it looks awesome. I can't wait. They teased there was a computer listing a few months ago, but this is our first time because they posted this on 6/6. I see what you did there for the Batman 66 figures from McFarlane Toys, and they look good. The sculpts look good. I don't know how much about articulation, but if we can get a Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson in and out of their costumes. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing these figures. I'm not saying I'm going to get all of them, but I'm probably going to get a few at least.
The Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson, we look like a gay duo figures from the 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
Ambiguously gay view.
From Saturday Night Live, right.
Seriously. I'm trying to think if there was anything else news-wise. I don't know. Did you see the other Black Widow trailer?
I saw a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I mean, the movie's coming in a few weeks, and I'm going to watch it. I'm going to have some people over. We're going to watch it, and we're going to barbecue, and we're going to watch it here. So
it's honestly, I think you and Ivan need to talk offline about if we want to do that as a thing. If you're interested. Where it's basically the three of us get together, and that might be something to do.
Okay.
If you wanted to do it that way.
It's just a matter of getting Ivan out here.
No.
All the three of us in the same room.
After a while, it's going to be Suburban Ivan. We'll get Howie to get on it. Ivan, get your butt out there to Mike's
It's been over an hour and radio silence from Ivan, so I don't know what's happening.
Well,
he must be on the phone dealing with some drama, so hopefully he'll be okay.
Or something, who knows?
Yeah.
It is what it is. It happens. So as long as we're there, anything of note this week or anything?
No, just been super busy at work. Though things have kind of slowed down here the last couple of days. Now we've gotten super hot weather. And now, of course, we had some chance of storms all week, and we had storms, and just slight power disruption delayed the recording this evening. But no, it's slowed down the last couple of days. But things are still a little crazy at work. And in the midst, I spent $100 on lumber today building this display for my HasLab Unicron.
Mike's got wood.
I've got wood, man. So yeah, that's all really. Got a game night coming this weekend. And then the next week, a week from Wednesday, I'm leaving for Kentucky. Got a little toy show down there, meeting with some friends. But no, nothing else, for me. Like I said, work's been busy, kicking my ass.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I'm just kind of looking through to see if there's anything else of note. I mean, we talked a little bit about Spider-Verse.
And this dropped, I guess, today. That Rob Zombie is going to be involved in a Munsters film.
Oh, God.
This could be good. I have my fingers. I have my fingers crossed. But I will watch it because of my love of the monsters as a kid.
So, I know you're not a boxing guy, but apparently... So, Logan Paul over the weekend fought Floyd Mayweather Jr., and as he walked to the ring, he wore on like a placard, like a lanyard, he was wearing a rare Pokemon Charizard card that's worth $150,000.
Okay.
That's like a necklace. It's like a necklace on the way to the ring.
Okay.
I just think that's crazy. That's strange.
That's something I never thought I'd see.
I
saw it. Yeah, you posted the picture on the Squares page.
Yeah, like I said, I just thought it was interesting. It's like, wait, Charizard. Wait, does that mean he's got like a Pokemon card? Yep, that's exactly what it is. Holy cow. Okay.
Score one for nerd culture.
Yeah, seriously. There's some guy going, your sweat probably got on it, and now it hurt.
I'm sure it's like double laminated. There's it's not going to get, unless someone punches him in the chest while he's wearing it.
Actually, there's probably some people going, well, now that it has Logan Paul's sweat on it, and he signed the lamination, it's worth even more money than it used to be. So I'm sure there's somebody out there going that route. So let's see, this week.
What have you been doing?
So, I caught, on a whim, I happened to catch, because I've got Epics in the house, I was flipping channels, and I found Sonic the Hedgehog.
Movie? Yeah.
And so it was interesting, because I didn't catch it from the beginning, and I had something else going on. So, I had the night free on Saturday night, and I was like, all right, sure, let's play it from the beginning and watch it. Okay, I'm impressed. That was a much better movie than I ever imagined it would be.
Yeah, I know this movie caught controversy because they had to change the animation when the first trailer hit, and they changed Sonic's look because everyone, it was creepy. It didn't look like Sonic. But anyway, so how much of it did you see?
All of it. I watched the whole thing.
You watched the whole film. Okay.
Right, because I could go back and get it where it was on demand for my purposes for free.
Okay.
So I ended up watching the whole thing. And at the time, it was funny. I remember it was right before the pandemic.
Yep, I remember.
It was probably the first and maybe only real big hit before the pandemic hit.
And then I remember I saw Onward in the theater, right? Mm-hmm. That was the last movie I saw in the theater.
But the point being is, I remember being, Sonic, how good could it possibly be? I'm not going to pay money to go see that movie. I'll tell you, after watching this, I know there's a sequel that they've greenlit. If there's a sequel in the theater, I'll go to the theater on a $5 day or something like that. And part of it being, I'm just going to put it out there. Jim Carrey seemed to remember how to be Jim Carrey from back in the day when we all loved Jim Carrey. And when Jim Carrey was the funniest thing on the planet Earth. And it just seemed like Jim Carrey got to be Jim Carrey again. Like the character that
he skirted the line of being a ham, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we know him best as.
He took everything he's learned in the last 20 years, and basically it's like, okay, I'm going to take all I'm going to take all those Ace Venturas and Liars and Cable Guy, and I'm going to take it all and morph it into making this probably maybe one of his best performances of being a comedic, funny guy I've seen in a long time from him, to the point where it really carried the movie. And it made the movie. I mean, he steals the show. There's no question in my mind he steals the show. I mean, he's just that good, and he's just that funny, and he does that good of a job. That's not to say the rest of the movie isn't interesting or worthwhile. What's his name? The guy who played Cyclops originally from the X-Men movies.
The guy Scott. Yeah, the
guy who plays Scott.
Yeah.
Who's been in James Marsden.
And he's played. He played
right. He's
Lois's husband in Superman Returns.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
I mean, he's been in a lot of.
Ralph,
and he's done a few different
he's done
rom-coms and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around. I mean, And he's always solid. And again, he's solid here. He's solid here, and Carrie steals the show, and Sonic is interesting enough, and they do a good enough job, and the action's good, and it's fun, and it's worthwhile. And yeah, I really, maybe it's partially I'm just surprised. I don't know that I can get it 5 yet, Vance, but I get it 4.
Okay, cool.
I give it 4. I mean, it's, if you've got Epics and you can watch it for free, or you can watch it for $5-6, yeah, it's a good popcorn movie.
I can see if I have Epics. I don't think so. Is that part of normal Comcast?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's a tier up from that,
okay.
But so.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, I did get caught up on Bad Batch, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still have not yet watched that.
It's all right. It's getting better.
I've not yet watched that, but the other thing I did was I've been sitting on 8 episodes of Black Lightning, and okay. I came to the conclusion. I'm like, all right, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to watch the last episode, and depending on what I see in the last episode, then I'll go back and watch the other 7. I took one look at the first couple minutes of the last episode and realized I needed to watch the episode before it.
Right. You want me for a sense of context.
Right. So I watched the last 2 episodes of Black Lightning, and so the long and short of it is this. This show really centers around the conflict between Black Lightning, Jefferson Pierce, and Tobias Whale. And somewhere, and I gotta be honest, most of the final episode, there's a lot of stuff in between before we finally get to the final confrontation between the two. And it's just a 1-segment fight. And it's not much of a fight. And there's a part of me where I'm kind of like, you've been building to an epic confrontation and final fight between the two of them.
And you get it, and
it's not satisfying or impressive or... Oh. The other thing is, when they did this show, they were in the process of trying to get a spin-off show for Painkiller, who was a character that was in the show that they thought for some strange reason they were going to spin off to his own show. And one of the episodes in the Black Lightning season is almost like a backdoor pilot for Painkiller. Now here's the irony. Once again, Warner Brothers did not bite on the backdoor pilot. It did not bite on taking up Painkiller. So at points, it's like we're setting up the future of what happens with Painkiller down the road. And because, obviously there's a possibility of a spinoff in the future. And so that takes up space. And then there's some weird storyline with Lightning, which is one of the daughters. And I don't know. In the end, I just felt like they forgot that at the end of the day, this should be about the fight it should be about Black Lightning versus Tobias Whale. And it seems like in that last episode that they really I kept looking at it going, I would think you're given at least 2 segments for this fight, right? No, it's practically like 1 segment, and then there's the happy ending segment. Okay? And, it wraps up in such a way where it's like, it's not like the characters can't be used again. It's not like the characters can't show up other places. And there has been talk about Black Lightning showing up in other CW shows for next season already. There has been talk about that. I don't know about other Black Lightning characters, but specifically Black Lightning himself showing up in like The Flash or a couple other shows. Overall, kind of disappointing to me. Kind of disappointing. And when I say that, I'm thrilled that we had a Black Lightning show. I think that and again, in fairness, I did not watch most of season 4 because I got through about 4 or 5 episodes and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Watching the last 2 episodes, I didn't feel the need to go back and watch what I missed either.
It didn't spark your interest?
No, it did not spark my interest to go back.
Flash in the pan?
Yeah, I feel like it. I feel like there's no need to go back and look at that stuff. Especially, it's like okay, well, they didn't pick up the Painkiller pilot, so I'm really not even interested in watching that episode at all, because what's the point? But the point being is, I just feel like they had, it's kind of interesting. I thought season 1 was really, really good. I thought season 2 wasn't very good. I thought season 3 was much better, and they were kind of on the right track. And I thought season 4 was kind of meh, and it wasn't all that great. And it's like they kind of at first it seemed like they were setting up the epic confrontation from the beginning of the season, and at times it seems like they veered away from it. And I get that there's other characters and other stories, and it's a CW show, and I get some of that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I do feel like, based on how they ended the show, it was kind of like, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, we have to do this conflict. Not, this is what we really... And in fairness, in the episode before, they do have kind of a fight. But obviously, Black Lightning loses, and, I just felt like the final fight should have been more epic. And so it's disappointing. It's disappointing. And the other part that's disappointing is, this is the... Well, I shouldn't say that, because now that we have Batwoman, and who's a woman of color, but really this was a show that was, a superhero of color, where, it's before Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's, you get the idea. And I do wonder sometimes that the timing was bad, which is, this show came out literally exactly at the same time as Black Panther hit theaters. And I do wonder if it got its thunder and lightning stolen from Black Panther being such a juggernaut. If that hadn't been the case, if maybe there had been more people talking about just how good Black Lightning was in the beginning of when it showed up that February. I just think they lost their way. I think they lost their way about it being a good street crime show that featured the Black and African American community.
Oh, we did have Luke Cage on Netflix before that. Yeah,
but that doesn't go. It wasn't nearly as good as this, and it's disappointing. And the thing I'll say to you is, personally. So now Black Lightning's gone. Supergirl is gone. I've told you I've canceled. I've stopped watching The Flash. I've stopped watching Batwoman. I'm sort of watching Legends of Tomorrow, only quite frankly because it's a little bit funny. I'm watching Superman and Lois. Mm-hmm. It has gotten a little bit better.
Good.
I do sit there and look at it and go, man, this was slow. Man, you could have done this a lot faster. Boy, some of your writing choices were not smart here. And one of the reasons I feel like they made some of the choices they made as writers was, I'm positive it came from up high going, hey, feature the teenage kids a lot. And to top it off, P.S., feature the fuck out of the Jordan kid. Just lots of him on multiple times. And he gets the Tashi Station Award for most annoying fucking character I've ever had. I
mean, you've seen like with other shows. Once it stands out with me is Cobra Kai, where you can have teen dramas and have them well written.
Yep. And in fairness, there's parts of this where it's well written.
Yeah.
It's the part where I feel like they're trying too hard to CW certain sections. They're trying too hard to make this more of a family show than remember that this is about Superman. And in the process, they've spent a lot of time trying to build out the high school world of Jordan and Jonathan Kent. And in fairness, the irony to me is I don't think they do a good job of that either. I don't think they do a great job of that at all.
But you say like Superman and Lois is still kind of so-so.
I love the cinematic quality to it, and I like a lot of the actors.
Yeah, the actors do the good job.
And even the whiny kid. I mean, they tell him to be the whiny kid. I get it.
He just looks like Frodo to me.
Yeah, that too. It's Frodo. It's Frodo asking for power converters at Tashi Station. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. It's like, but Dad, I want to go to Tashi Station and then go to the Shire. You know.
That's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's. I know. In fairness, I mean, maybe they'll clean that. And see, you haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to spoil anything because you know they do bring in a Superman and hero family character, and it's an interesting spin. And I'll be interested. I'm excited about that, but I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that character. And if anything, there's a part of me where I'm like, oh, you want to spin a character off to a show? Spin off that character. When the time, and it's clear that they're not ready to spin that character off yet. But, you know, that character, yeah, I'd watch that show. That would be interesting. I'd be very interested to see a show based on that character. But we're not, I have a feeling we're at least 2 seasons away from anybody thinking smartly enough to go, hey, you know what? We could spin that character off and do a show, and I think it would be worthwhile. So,
well, this show is a spin-off from Crisis.
Technically, yeah.
I mean, obviously this Superman was introduced in Supergirl, but the reasoning we got this is because I think that was the first time we saw this character as actress as Lois Lane in. No, that was Elscape Supergirl. Yeah.
No, it was in the. See, it was in the one before that. There was an Elseworlds.
Okay, there was another crossover or a big.
There was a crossover before the Crisis on Infinite Earths one, the year before, that led to it. That we saw this Lois Lane and Superman and Clark Kent that we're seeing now first appeared in season 2 of Supergirl.
Right.
I think that's the other interesting question that I'm beginning to have is you now have. And in fairness, I know the pandemic played into part of this, but you now have a situation where it's like, okay, you have characters from Arrow that are sitting around that maybe those are opportunities to bring those characters in. You'll have characters from Black Lightning sitting around. And once Supergirl ends at the end of next fall, because they decided to air the final episodes of this season in the fall, which is slightly smart, but freaking annoying as hell. You know, you're gonna have a lot of CW verse alumni available to you. And then when I say that, that doesn't mean you need to get Melissa Benoist to show up on every one of those shows. There's a lot of other people who you can do that at least it might spice things up on some of these shows and give people a reason to watch. Because honestly, at this point with The Flash, I'm like, I don't care. Unless somebody's going to show up out of the blue that I wasn't expecting.
What season is The Flash on right now? Is that 8 or 9?
8.
8?
I think 8. I just don't care. It feels like the same. And I have some friends of mine who love that show. Still love it because they're Flash fans and, you know, still love it. And I guess Cisco Ramon's leaving, the guy who plays Cisco Ramon's leaving the show, which then further only makes me, and the guy who plays Harvey Wells, what's his name? Not Harvey Wells. Yeah, Harvey Wells. The guy who, Tom, what's his name, who's been in a bunch of shows. That at the time we were all surprised that they got him to do it and he's been around this long. But they're losing 2 of their better character actors. And I'm like, how is this going to be helpful for season 9? How does this going to work? Unless, now the only interesting thing would be is if you're going to cannibalize from some of these other shows and bring some of these people over to be characters in the show. Now that would be interesting. Maybe it would get me to watch The Flash again. You know, if some of the characters from some of these other shows showed up, but I don't see that happening, Mike.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean.
But CW has always been tempestuous, and.
I just think that for its time and for what it was, the CW verse was instrumental in what we see today. I think it's instrumental in what we see today in terms of shows, in terms of superheroes and geek shows. But I do think that they have now gotten long in the tooth, and they need to figure out how to reinvent themselves. And maybe that's going to not be on CW. Maybe that's going to be reinventing themselves on HBO Max. I don't know. But they're going to have to reinvent themselves a little bit in terms of what they're out there doing. And it's possible they're in the process of that. I don't know. I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the only other thing I can think of is we do have 2 interesting things coming this week. One of which you're not going to care about. The other one you are.
Yeah, well, Loki drops this week.
That was the one that you're going to care about.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the one you're going to care about, which is it Wednesday?
Yeah, the 9th.
Okay, so basically when this airs, we'll have gotten Loki.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what this looks like. It looks very different, and it looks like we're going to go different places than we saw with WandaVision and,
Yeah, that's gonna be cosmic. So
yeah, so we'll see what doors this opens.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 10th, HBO Max is going to have In the Heights, which is the Lin-Manuel Miranda musical, and that's going to drop, which I think will be interesting. I think that's a good draw for HBO Max. I'm looking forward to it. I saw trailers of it, and it looks phenomenal in terms of the singing and dancing. I know that that's not necessarily our audience,
okay,
but it does look worthwhile to check out, and it's very stylized, and it does seem to be very, very crisp, and it's a different subject matter than Hamilton, but it is the person who was involved in Hamilton, so there's a part of me where I'm like, yeah, okay, color me interested. And there's a part of me where it's like, yeah, I hope it's successful. I hope it's successful because, look at how successful Hamilton was for Disney Plus. If HBO Max has good, solid success within the Heights for HBO Max, to me, now we're starting to talk about the possibility of doing something unique and different and going different directions and some of these streaming platforms where, maybe we can do live theater or live to video, or
remember NBC was doing that for a while.
Yeah,
doing live musicals.
They were, and in fairness, some of the ones they chose were, I don't know though. I think part of it is that they went with the live factor of it, and then, that there was a quality.
Yeah, they wanted to make it an event. Yeah.
Right. And the problem was after a while it stopped being. The other thing is it was an event, and then other networks started to follow suit, and then suddenly it stopped being an event when you have all three networks doing their own thing.
Same thing, right.
And then one of them has one that doesn't work and it bombs, and now, okay, the quality isn't there, or this didn't work, or it wasn't nearly as good, and now all of a sudden all three networks are like, yeah, no, I think we're done with that. So like I said, and in fairness, I think streaming platforms like Netflix and HBO Max, for example, just as examples, I think those are better platforms for really creating solid musical theater that maybe isn't live, so to speak, but it's more about, hey, let's get the essence of what it is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think that might be better. But that's just me. Like I said, those are the two things this week, I think, that are really of note, unless I'm missing something entirely.
This week, I think that's it.
I mean, I know the country seems to be going nuts over Cruella. I have no interest. I don't know about you.
No, I never. Actually, someone had a Dalmatian in the store, the other day. Like, oh, okay, yeah. But no, I've not seen Cruella. I never saw 101 Dalmatians as a kid.
Wow.
Never saw it. Never.
Wow.
Never really cared for it.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that they've already greenlit a sequel, by the way.
Okay.
That it's doing well enough that they have greenlit a sequel, but I'm not paying $30 on Disney Plus either.
No.
So.
Yeah, finished, I got caught up on Bad Batch, and it's interesting. Now they're having to, go to become hired mercenaries because they're on the run from the new Empire, and yeah, it's interesting. And the kid character seems to be coming into her own. But I guess this last episode had a couple of characters who were in season 7 of Clone Wars. And I didn't know anything about these two people, so I didn't care. But I've been meaning to go back and watch the last season of Clone Wars, but I never bothered. So I'm just kind of latching on to what I have here. So,
yeah,
I did. Yeah, Clone Wars is okay. I mean, Bad Batch, it's fine. It's okay.
Look, let me ask you a question. When they do stuff like that, do you feel like that makes Star Wars inaccessible to the casual fan?
In a way. I mean, I'd say I'm slightly more than a casual Star Wars fan. But when you're introduced characters from another series that I haven't watched yet, I mean, people say, I'm watching Bad Batch, but this is the most I've ever seen of any of the Star Wars animated from the Clone Wars. Or even Rebels. I've already watched more than I watched of Rebels. And I tried to get through Rebels, but I couldn't do it.
See, there's a part of me where it's like, I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I almost feel like, I remember when you used to buy comics as a kid, and sometimes something would get referenced, and there was this little asterisk, and there was a box.
Yeah, and then you say, see issue 80A1 or something.
Yeah, or, for those of you who forgot, you might want to check out blah, blah, blah. I almost feel like they need that.
Yeah.
Or they almost need, a pop-up video kind of director's cut, where it's like, hey, kids, did you notice that this was this character from blah, blah, blah?
That's what the internet is for, I guess. That's what Facebook is for, all these people think, actually, they were in the season show. Yeah,
but I don't... Yeah. Do I really... But the problem is I don't want to hear from... Actually.
Yeah, I don't hear from those guys.
Unless it's us. Then I want to hear from us.
Yeah.
That's
our job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our job. And in fairness, we don't do nearly... Well, I do. I should shut up. I do that more. But in fairness, there's a lot of people where I will listen to that too, but there's too many where it's like, it just feels like there are a lot of people who are going to watch those shows who are never going to look that stuff up and look at it or look at the internet and figure all that stuff out. And it's like, why not create a pop-up video director's quote cut like that where you could be like, hey, there's a whole bunch of things you might have missed. Feel free to watch this version of the episode too. And then the irony is that now you've got a situation where it's like, okay, you have 2 episodes to watch every week because you could go back and then rewatch it with hey kids, did you notice this?
Yeah.
Or along those lines. I think, and it's sad that it's gotten to that point because Star Wars has never really been like that, but I almost feel like in some ways it's more inaccessible than... We
have seen, there's one episode, I guess I can throw some minor spoilers here for, I think it was episode 4 or 5 of Bad Batch, where the Bad Batch, they go on a job, and they say we need to find this kid and bring it back. The kid happens to be the baby Rancor from Jabba's palace, and it actually had a funny reveal moment. Bib Fortuna shows up and receives the Rancor. Star Wars has such a rich cast of characters. Although this seems like it's a small galaxy after all, where some of these characters they come back. Seemingly frequently for the big galaxy that it is. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because the problem is it's not like they're coming back from the movies, or it's not like it's coming from like the Mandalorian. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
It's coming from some of these other sometimes it's not even in the cartoons. It's, hey, we're referencing something from a game.
Or from the EU that most people never read. Most well, maybe not every Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Right, but that's what I mean.
I'm still enjoying Bad Batch. I'll still watch it. That still holds my interest.
At some point I'll take a look at it. I haven't been in a rush to go be like, oh my god, I need to watch this versus The Mandalorian, where it'd be like, oh yeah, I totally need to watch this. Again, I think part of it is I just am, again, we've talked about this before, I don't want to go too far, but I really don't like that animation style at all. It's
it is jarring. It's not for everybody. That's part of why I dropped Rebels, and they released the Star Wars Black Series versions of the Rebels characters as if they were actual people, and they kind of resemble it's sort of like it's like a real life interpretation of the character who you know solely from animation.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I tried Rebels. I can't. But this Clone Wars this Bad Batch is good because I like this crew. I like the cast they have. So, but what else?
I don't know. I think
that's about
unless we're gonna do some sort of wacky news stories. I don't.
Well, the wackiest news of the day was Jeff Bezos is going to space.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm convinced he's Lex Luthor. I mean, the richest man on the planet, and now he wants to go to space. I was like, sure, why not? I mean, if you were the richest man on Earth, I mean, if you had the means, would you take all your winnings, but I mean, like, all your earnings and use it to build yourself a space capsule? Mm-hmm. I think I would.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos.
How many movies do I get? How many movies? How much stuff do I get to bring with me? How much, all that stuff.
Going to space.
You think he wants to come back?
Yeah, that's the meme. It's like you're leaving for good, right? Right? Mm-hmm. No, he's coming back. He's not going back to Planet Bezos from the South Park episode where Jeff Bezos is the Telosians from Star Trek. Meanwhile, by the way, where's my Captain Pike show? Damn it! Keep asking that. It's like, yeah, this new Trek is fine, but where's my Captain Pike show? Oh well.
Where's my Deep Space Mine update?
We did get the documentary. Did you ever watch that documentary?
No.
It was interesting. They did like a writer's room concept for the first episode of season 8, which we never got. But that was interesting. And in regards, they fully crowdfunded the Voyager documentary they're doing also. So I'll watch that.
Looking to see if we can get that interesting. Here's an article from late March. Let's see if we can find anything. Discovery 2. No, we don't want Discovery. I don't know. I can't. There's too much. Right. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, forget it.
Okay. I suppose I reckon that'll do this week then.
Yeah. I don't think we got anything else going on.
What do you got? Anything plans for this weekend?
I do have to go pick up my awards on Saturday.
Oh, you're actually getting a physical trophy?
I'm getting trophies. I'm getting physical trophies.
Will there be is this almost like a semi-public event?
It's kind of like a semi-public event, but I may just pick up my awards and go.
All right, you don't want to stay. Obviously, for
well,
obvious reasons.
it's at a forest preserve, and I'm kind of like.
Oh, it's an outdoor venue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I get it, but there's kind of where I'm kind of like, I don't want to.
Or it's not an indoor forest preserve. Not a biodome.
Yeah, as opposed to the indoor.
It's not a biodome with Pauly Shore. Yeah.
it's like, hey.
Indoor Forest Preserve. I think that's our title for this week.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's a part of me where I'm just like, this seems like a bad idea, but okay, if they're going to be willing to. But yeah, there's that, and then I have Sunday Night Stories next week.
Yeah, how's that going on Clubhouse?
We had our biggest crowd to date this past week, and it was really, really amazing. And we had about between 30 and 35 people in the room.
Oh.
And if we can continue to do that, we're pulling in presenters who want to present, and it's been a real blast.
What time is that usually on Sundays?
It would be 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central, 8:30 Mountain, and 7:30 Pacific time.
That PM?
Yeah.
Okay.
PM.
All right.
Trust me, there's a part of me like, why don't you make it red? Well, or make it different, why don't you make it earlier or along those lines? Or it's like, this is what I can do. And we have a good time with it. And we make it work. So,
all right.
It's what it is.
Good. Like I said, yeah, I've got a game night this weekend, and then next week I have to prepare because I'll be leaving. I don't know if we're going to do a show. We could swing a show. If it's like this, we could record on Monday and I could post it on Tuesday, and then Wednesday I leave. So yeah, I suppose we can be back next week. We could swing it. But I just got to get a little packing done, and I'll be off to Robocon in Louisville next weekend. So I'll be there. But yeah, I got a game night this weekend. I don't know what we're doing. I did pre-order my copy of the new Transformers deck building game from Renegade Studios. That's coming by early September, I believe. But it's not like the old, not like the game they've had. I think they launched in 2015 or 2016, where it was a collectible card game. This one's all in the box, like a deck building game. So there's no one card that's collectible that you can buy, and it's $100 on eBay. It's like the Charizard card. You can't just play that card and you're going to win every time. It's not like that. It's all in the box. It's all in the box, so it's all self-contained. That's coming later this year, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I got a game night this week, but that's it. But I guess it'll do. Ivan's in absentia this week. It's been an hour and a half, not heard from him. Hope everything's okay with him. I'll send him a note later.
He got stuck in the restroom and he couldn't figure, and his zipper broke.
Oh. Ivan's on twitch.tv at Java and Ivan. Jeff is on Clubhouse and all of the social media platforms at Dynamite Productions. We here at the Scrubs Roundtable, we're on Instagram and Twitter. We're on YouTube and the usual podcast platforms, iTunes, Google, Spotify, anchor.fm/SOTRT, and follow us on our Facebook page, and email us at sotrtpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep. I think that's going to do it. And wow. Next time we'll see if we can add some,
we'll talk Loki. And you
can talk Loki
and the In the Heights.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. We'll maybe Ivan will be talking about some sort of me got boner boing. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have that and a lot more. Again, thanks for everybody coming out, and oh, by the way, what are we doing with that stupid intern, Edwin?
Oh, he's homeless now.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, he's in Wendy's parking lot asking for handouts. Yeah, poor bastard.
Yeah, well, speaking of poor bastards and handouts, we'll hand our way out of here, and y'all have a great week.